Good day to you, gentle person on the internet, and thank you for joining me as we have a look at Landfill Simulator. Now, this is an incremental game. It's one of those semi-idle ones where you can kind of do less stuff and let the game play by itself for a bit, but you have to keep coming back to buy upgrades and things like that, so it's not entirely idle, which is the good kind, really. You do have to play the game, you just don't have to do any of the hectic actiony stuff that other games might require. So definitely a game style that I enjoy. However, I will say ahead, this is the browser version. I've tried it on Firefox, it was working. I'm now on Chrome, it is also working. It is, as you might be able to see, a little buggy in the browser version. It's built for a display, I think, that is a bit bigger than mine. As you can see, the title is cut off and our sort of starting quest is cut off, and it does get quite laggy. So if you do have a lower end machine or a smaller display or something like that, you might want to consider the download version, at least until some correcting and some optimization is done. Hopefully the dev is casting a look at that, or maybe he doesn't really care about the browser version. Either way, it is still a fun game, it is still an interesting game to play. I think enduring the issues is absolutely fine. I did press Control and minus to zoom out a bit. As you can see, I've zoomed out about as far as it will allow me to zoom. Yeah, I mean it's okay. I guess we can survive with it being in that little bit shrunk down state over there. Unfortunately, that doesn't fix the lag. Anyway, let us have a look at how we play. We have a hole that we wish to put trash into because it is some kind of deep or infinite hole that can consume the trash that we need to get rid of. And the trash is over here in this pile. And we have our little cursor. What we can do is if we mouse over the pile, we spit out trash. I think that's 10 bits. And then we can mouse over the trash and knock it towards the hole, and it'll eat it up. Now, part of the problem is that the trash does expire over time. I don't know if it expires at this particular point of the game. We'll see now if any of these expire before I manage to get them in the hole. Yeah, so there is an expiry date on it. So I suppose not really. There we go. That bit expired, and that bit. All right, so that is one of the core gameplay mechanics that we need to deal with. We shall see how to do it. Once we get the 10 pieces in, we unlock the idle elements. Right, so now we have unlocked the next state of gameplay. The first thing we've got to do, as you can see, we now have a dollar value and an RP. That's a resource point. We can't get RP just yet. We'll get there eventually. But the way we get dollars is we push the trash into the hole, and then as you can see, there's a bunch of things we can then start purchasing with the dollars in the usual incremental game style, as you might be expecting. Now we can have a little dude. A little dude will run towards trash that is out there, and he will pick it up and carry it to the hole. But of course, that does not change the expiry element of it. So we need to give him a hand to try to get pieces there quicker, because he will carry it up until the point that it expires, and then he will go back and get the next bit. And that's kind of just what sort of happens here. And we are fighting against that component of the game. Pop the pieces a bit closer for him so he doesn't have to walk quite as far to get it in there. We can get a second dude. The game is one of those games that progresses in a increasingly kind of, I'd say dark, but it maintains this cartoony style, at least as far as I've been able to play the game. So it doesn't really get that dark and horror-esque, but there are sort of surreal horror elements that the game does start unlocking as we get further into it. So that's kind of what we're playing towards. It is the usual kind of humor element of games like this. Yeah, that's something fun to include, I suppose. It gives the game a more emotional depth and more purpose if you work towards it. Oh, get another dude. Let's see if we can get up to $30. We'll see what we unlock. The things are all unlocked. They don't tell you what they are until we get there. Yeah, we eventually unlock a research station, which will sit in the corner and slowly go through research, and that's how we make the hole bigger, and eventually more occult is where that kind of goes. I don't want to give too many spoilers, but it's a fun element. As you can see, there's a lot of small individual movable items, which is I think why the game requires optimization. And I mean, I understand that, okay, we can make our trash more valuable, get $2 a piece instead of $1. It is difficult to build for a browser environment. So you've got the kind of the sandbox that you're now trying to fight with, because it sort of sometimes stops you from doing the things that you want to do because it's trying to protect the operating system underneath it. I mean, that's the point of the sandbox, is it locks you into this little space, but then you're having to deal with the fact that you are, you know, in terms of code functionality, locked into a small space. Then of course the sandbox environment has its own bugs that you need to then work around, and then of course the sandboxes are different from browser to browser. You know, Edge is notorious about kind of almost deliberately doing things in a different way to the other ones to try and assert itself in the browser world. Go, you know, we are the right way to do it, and it was relying on its massive presence, you know, back when it was Internet Explorer, to try and force the other people into following its path instead of it following the other people's path. Didn't actually really work out all that well for it. Mostly people just annoyed with it these days, web devs, at least in my experience. Some fanatics that believe it can do no wrong. It doesn't matter what operating system, browser, or coding language or anything like that. You'll always have the people that go, no, mine is the good one for whatever reason. But yeah, I've never considered Edge to be the particularly good one that we need to work towards. It's the one that, you know, if you can make it work in Firefox and Chrome, which share a lot of core engines and things like that, then it'll work on a majority of browsers, and then you just make it work for Edge as the final step. You add whatever little extra elements Edge requires. That's the usual way to do it. Anyway, the point is, yeah, because of all the chaos and complexity in the browser space, browser dev is hard. So I'm never really surprised to find software that isn't particularly well optimized for it. But yeah, I mean, in as much as the dev cares about his browser space, I do recommend working on optimization a bit more, because the game does get quite badly laggy fairly early into it. And if you rely on people coming to download the game, you're going to lose a fair amount of your player base. The people who don't want to spend the effort, or, you know, have sort of safety and security concerns about downloading software rather than playing it in their browser, etc., etc. Right or wrong, that is simply the nature of the gameplay space. Let's get these guys moving a little bit faster. So yeah, my first critique there is really work on the optimization, which I'm sure the dev is trying to do, but you might even have to change the gameplay design, sort of have less trash, but make it come out slower, make them carry it slower, or faster, or something like that, just to maintain the game's balance. But you know, if your amount of active items is an issue, you need to work on that issue. Yeah, rather than just telling people to download it, or resign yourself to not having a browser popular game, because players are going to have an unpleasant experience. They're going to go, no, why should I download this? This game sucks. And that's the sort of thing that happens. Other critiques while we're busy playing and waiting for this money to build up. There is no real sort of UI elements. There's no properties or anything like that I could find. You know, we can't, where there's no sound of life controls or anything. The game just kind of starts and says, here's sort of how you play. No real tutorial other than that sort of start menu that already doesn't let you get into this gameplay until you figure out how to do the trash and that starting first 10 bits of trash thing. Which is fine in itself. It was a bit confusing to me because the game was zoomed in, so I couldn't really see what the hell was going on. The hole was like halfway out the edge of the game, and the trash was clipped off and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, the introduction to the game wasn't fantastic, but it was acceptable. It got me in, it got me playing. I think sort of more regular players will be fine. But there again, if you have a game in a browser you can play with 1 or 2 clicks, you're going to have people playing that don't know much about playing games. So you do need to have better tutorials, get them smoothed in a little bit better. The art of the game looks absolutely fantastic, and also believe that there's no AI has been used in this, at least no generative AI. So bravo dev, you may have made a very good looking game. Some beautiful artwork that you've either made or found. I commend that greatly. This is fun to look at and enjoy it. The sounds are fine, the music is quite entertaining. It is a bit sort of computer game boopy rather than something quote unquote realistic, but that's fine. It matches the cartoony style, so that's good. Yeah, and really it's just the gameplay elements which I think are great. This is a good, solid, incremental game. It's a little bit laggy, I mean, not in terms of performance lag, I mean, that we've already spoken about, but it does feel a bit grindy on occasions where none of my upgrades are really giving me the kind of progress feel that I like to really get that dopamine triggered. And that's kind of really the priority in a game like this. You really want to get as many little dopamine surges as you can. You know, you buy an upgrade that does something cool rather than just a small, barely feelable step forward. Is really the kind of thing you want. You want what the sort of gambling industry calls high volatility. You wanted small, like rarer, expensive jumps, but good results from those jumps. With the balance, of course, you don't want them so rare that the person's grinding for ages. But if you can like slow down the jumps, but make them have a very obvious, very visual effect, that does trigger a lot more dopamine than just having lots and lots and lots of upgrades that don't really do much. So that's the way I suggest skewing the balance a little bit, just to get that dopamine flow going. And the final critique is really just the immersion element. Like, what is this pile of trash? Why are we throwing it in a hole? What is going on here? There's very little of that. I don't know if the devs actually thought that far about it, but I could definitely do with a lot more of the storyline. Other than that, I quite like this gameplay mechanism. I like the way you can pop the trash out. I like the way you can push the trash forward. It's quite fun. It's quite enjoyable. I like the little characters running around. I like the upgrades that you give them. Yeah, it's a game that feels meme worthy. Yeah, if that makes sense at all. And I enjoy it a lot. And there's a lot of upgrades to go through, and they do get a little bit crazy as you go further down. We haven't unlocked it yet. Let's see if we can get, I think it's $300, and we can show you just one of the gameplay changes just before we wrap up, and I recommend you come and play the game. We are almost there. As you can see, we've unlocked a little dude to hack at the trash for us and do that element. Now, what we have is this button, which makes these asteroids appear. Now, to start off with, we have to mouse them over, and they break and pop out some trash, which then needs to go down the hole, and we get a lot more money for it. As you can see, we're getting $4 for the regular trash, but $25 for the asteroid trash, and there's upgrades that can make them cost a little bit more. And also there's an upgrade that will sort of send this lightning strike that breaks the asteroids for us automatically, so we don't have to always mouse over it. Although we can speed it up if we want to by mousing over it before the lightning strike gets there. And I like that kind of element in games like these, where the game will play itself if you leave it alone, but you can interact with it to speed things up. I think that's the best balance for an incremental game. And yeah, that's it. That's all I'm going to talk about. That's all I'm going to show in this game. Oh, there's another asteroid. Let's break it. Yes, the asteroid bits do expire as well. Anyway, yeah, so thank you for joining me and having a look at it. As I always say, if you like the game, I mean, you can tell me in the comments, but that's not going to help anyone very much, so rather go and tell the dev that. I don't want to take credit for their game. I didn't make it, I'm only showing it to you. However, if you like or dislike the video, then please press that thumbs up or that thumbs down. But I would appreciate it if you would drop a comment telling me what you liked or what you disliked, so I can get better at making videos. And yeah, if you want to hit the subscribe button, because it helps me, because then I can feed you more indie games. I try and do a game a day, and I'm managing to maintain that fairly solidly at the moment, so it is worth a subscription, I believe. A steady flow of little bits of entertainment into your YouTube inbox. Yeah, and other than that, I hope to see you in the next video, and I hope you have a good day and a lot of fun playing this game. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.